What was the Earth like before the appearance of dinosaurs? It was very different from the Earth billions of years ago. All the continents were integrated into one. At that time, the Earth was full of both beautiful and terrible life. When you think of the prehistoric Earth, you may think of dinosaurs, a giant creature. They are very large. They have dominated the Earth for 1.7 billion years. But have you ever thought that before dinosaurs ruled the Earth, there were many other giant creatures that ruled the Earth? When it comes to the Second World War, which lasted for nearly 300 million years, there was only one supercontinent on the Earth at that time, the continent of Pangu. The whole continent was surrounded by the ocean. The end of the Second World War began in the Ice Age. If you travel back 300 million years ago and land in the middle of the continent of Pangu, the small piece of land on the Earth has just collided and formed this supercontinent. It occupies about 30% of the surface of the Earth. The oxygen content here is less than it is now, but you can still breathe. By the way, in the past, remember to wear a swimsuit, because the weather there may be very cold. The average temperature is no more than 4 degrees. But this climate will not last too long. In the early days of the Second World War, the Ice Age was over. The climate began to change. There are more and more plants. Various animals also began to evolve rapidly. This is a volcano world. The violent eruption changed the climate, created landforms, and paved the way for evolution. When the huge swamp forest began to dry up, plants had to adapt to the current environment. So, 2.9 billion years ago, the Earth witnessed the first species of plants called rhizobium plants. These plants carry seeds on their fruits, spreading like wildfire in the supercontinent. Some familiar things are hidden in the early forests of the Second World War. As you can see, cicadas and cockroaches are crawling on the plants, as well as the cutest little cockroaches. But these little cockroaches are different from what we see now. Their heads and brains are about the same size. But even though they are huge, cockroaches have never ruled the land before. This is also good news. Finally, the primitive species of mammals, the rhizobium, appeared. This amazing and terrible animal became the top predator at that time. The rhizobium grows to 5 meters long, weighs 225 kilograms, and has a huge fong on its back. Scientists believe that this fong helps to regulate its temperature, absorbs heat during the day, and releases excess heat at night. In the middle of the Second World War, other reptile-like animals took over the Earth. They are called carnivores, with strong jaws and sharp teeth. Because their legs are below the body, they stand relatively straight. If you stay for another 20 million years, you may see more carnivores. At this time, the Earth is getting hotter and hotter. The global average temperature increases to about 25 degrees Celsius. Volcanoes release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Because of climate change, the sea surface is also changing. This allows marine life to find a way to adapt. If you swim in the prehistoric superocean, you will swim with ancient sharks and primitive fish from ancient ponds. As the environment changes, many more complex marine species come and go. In the late Second World War, you may meet another reptile, the water dragon. They look like a mixture of lizard and pig, but they are different from other terrible prehistoric monsters. They are herbivores, with only 1 meter long and strong forelegs. Not long after, another kind of cute creature that looks like an animal was evolved, the black-toothed beast. It looks like a huge reptile, with only 1 meter long and strong forelegs. It feeds on small animals and insects. During this time, a lot of volcanic activity releases oxygen. Scientists think that the oxygen in the atmosphere may only be 10% of the current oxygen. In comparison, the oxygen content today is 21%. In such an environment, it is quite difficult to breathe. The temperature continues to rise, reaching an average temperature of about 28 degrees. This gloomy prehistoric world is becoming a huge oven. All the good things will eventually end. Unfortunately, this period has come to a particularly cruel end. About 2.52 billion years ago, there was a disastrous apocalypse. About 90% of plants and animals were completely wiped out. This tragic moment is called the Great Destruction. It is one of the most devastating and large-scale disasters on Earth. Scientists are still studying the cause of this disaster. Most theorists believe that it is due to explosive volcanic activity. As a huge volcanic eruption covered the continent, a a large amount of volcanic ash was released into the atmosphere, almost covering the sun. Without the sun, the global temperature drops rapidly. Plants can no longer function in harmony and eventually die. Without plants, the foundation of the animal food chain will soon collapse. The situation is getting worse and worse. Because during the volcanic eruption, a large amount of carbon dioxide was released, causing the global temperature to rise again, not only back to the previous level but also higher. This caused the superocean to lose most of its oxygen. Most of the underwater marine life that cannot breathe were exterminated. In the end, more than 95% of marine species and more than 70% of land animals were exterminated. When these animals were exterminated in the ecological crisis of the Second World War, for the next 10 million years, there were no creatures to fill their vacancies, forming an extremely unstable and fragile land ecosystem. Later, in the late Third World War, dinosaurs and mammals began to appear. What is unbelievable is that about 66 million years ago, the dinosaurs that ruled the Earth for 200 million years suddenly perished. The current mainstream explanation is that a small planet outside the sky hit the Earth, causing dust to accumulate, acid rain to accumulate, causing dinosaurs and many other animals to lose their natural habitat. 60 million years later, people who were obsessed with walking began to appear.